Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fun and Games Podcast. I'm Jeff Moonen.
And I am Maddie K. Stormageddon.
And you're listening to episode 199. And this episode, we'd like to remind you that none of us were born gamers. I mean, we like to say that we were. We like to say that we can't remember a time before we knew games, but none of us were born gamers. We had to find it. We had to be led there. We had to be guided, even. It's important, if you want gaming to thrive, to bring in other non-gamers and to just have a little bit of an open mind when sharing what you love. With that in mind, we are joined this episode by the CEO of the No Sequels Cooperative, Joanna Nastos. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're so excited to have you on this episode. Shout out to the one and only Scott White for connecting us, the host of RPG University, a writer for a multitude of sites, and a delightful human in his own right. Scott told me, he's like, you and Joanna would get along. You'd be so excited about their mission statement. I'm going to connect you. And I was like, okay, sure. And I guess before we get too far, why don't you let folks know a little bit about No Sequels Cooperative and like what you guys are doing as a studio?
So we make, as I like to say, cool, creative, couch cooperative games.
Good games.
Because we love alliteration.
Yes.
There are games that you can BYONG to. And BYONG is bring your own non-gamer. So our whole ethos, everything that we do with our games are meant to introduce non-gamers to gaming. They're all two-player games to be shared between a gamer and a non-gamer.
It's funny, like multiplayer only games are something that I think is fairly new, though they did exist in the past. You know, we think about stuff like, of course, like Split Fiction, and that whole studio's like whole ethos is co-op first, right? That's what they've always wanted. And it seems like it's something that's catching on with a lot of studios, this idea of like, well, first of all, mentioning couch co-op, already you have my attention because it's a lost art. I feel like at this point, Jeff and I often, I will say complain, to put it nicely, that a lot of games are just online multiplayer, which I have no problem with, but like I grew up couch co-op, N64, 4 controllers, like that's my brand. And so like to hear that a studio is pushing that forward and like wants to lean into that, but not only that, but making accessible games that bring in people who don't play games. Because lots of studios, I think, are doing that on a solo gameplay project, right? Like a one-player game that's attractive to non-gamers. I think of visual novels and walking sims that are meant to like ease people into game mechanics. But to do it in a co-op space feels very different. Where did this inspiration to bring your own non-gamer come from?
Well, it's actually based on a true story. So as you grew up with, the rich neighborhood kid had like a Super Nintendo,
Right.
and then we would go to like their house, and do that. Especially, I will say I grew up in Greece, and Greece is a bit behind technologically and various things always, like in comparison to the US and the rest of the world. Not everybody had access to it. One kid in the school had it, and then we would just go all hang out on the weekend and like play, take turns, fighting over the controller, that whole thing. I think that's a pretty ubiquitous 90s growing up experience.
I'd say so, yeah.
But I lost that around 10 years old or something. And then, of course, my teenage years when it was like the rise of internet cafes and people were playing Counter-Strike and all that stuff. Or Dota, as we pronounce it in Greece, Dota. But yeah, Dota. Because I wasn't really interested in those kinds of games anyway. So I lost like the advancements in technology that were happening in gaming. Yeah, I just didn't play games. It just wasn't in my world. And then I met Fox, who was our game director, and some other people in this like meetup, and they were all gamers. And they were like, oh, you seem like the kind of person who would be into playing games. And I was like, I don't know, maybe. So then there weren't that many games we could use that was something that we could share together that I could also just pick up and just be a part of this experience. It was a very, very long, arduous journey, actually, into learning the controls, learning how to play games, because we played some early, like you've described, like 2D, very flat, like side games.
Side
but
scrollers, yeah.
Yeah, but that's not something that you're doing with someone. That's like a, hey, here's the controller, here's the basic stuff, do it. And then when we tried to play games that were a bit more advanced, even the ones that are geared towards couch co-op, there is this assumption of the player's skill level.
Yes.
And knowing what is to be expected, what the menu does, what the map is, having an inventory, what the controller, like, okay, there are tutorials that teach you what every button does, but if you've never held a controller like that, you can't do it. So I cried a few times. And it was just the frustration of not being able to feel like I can navigate. And of course, when I met Fox, I could tell that he was very much into video games and cared about the industry on its own. And I was like, maybe you should make video games. And he was like, no, 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 it's not really for me. So then fast forward to some years later, after he was disappointed with a project that he was working on, he discovered Godot as an engine and he started messing with it. And then we started conceptually talking about, if we made video games, what would they be? And then we were like, oh, we should just make the games that you needed 6 years ago when you couldn't play games. And that's what happened.
It's remarkable the amount of ways that if you are either used to playing games and it's not just games, there's so many areas of art, of hobbies, of anything that there's a concept that's used in more dire circumstances called the missing step, where everybody that takes this staircase all the time knows exactly that step to skip because it's actually broken. You're going to fall through. Somebody comes in for the first time and it's like, oh yeah, just take the stairs up. And you don't know to skip that step. There's things like that all of the time, certainly in games where you're handed a controller that nowadays has a large number of buttons. There's 2 joysticks, a D-pad, there's 4 face buttons, 4 shoulder buttons, and maybe a start and a select, some like buttons, possibly even a touchpad in the middle.
Yep.
Do you use all of these? Oh, no, it's fine. Well, which one do I use? Oh, no, don't worry about it. I'm worrying about it now.
I am worried about it. I am worried.
Yes. There's a weird push and pull of accommodating design and all of those inputs versus accommodating the newbie mind, the beginner's mind of like, you can make a game that's just one button, but you need to make it clear that it's that. And a lot of times there is, oh, it's just one button, except, or there is also the conveyance therein. There are many series out there that do a great job of conveying what they're doing. I mean, people learn how to play games every day, but it's remarkable how often presumed.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that I never thought about that when I met my partner, my spouse, who now likes to play games but still doesn't play a ton. The last game she may have played was like on the Game Boy, like a handful of buttons. And then I put an Xbox 360 controller in her hand and she's like, well, how do I move the camera? Right? It's just not intuitive if you skip all of those steps. Whereas now, I mean, like she mastered Clair Obscure Expedition 33 in a way that was incredible. But like, she had to build to that because most modern games will give you some basics, but there is inherent and assumed knowledge that someone like me and Geoff have learned as we evolved with games since we were little kids, that someone like you or my spouse it just doesn't exist. This isn't the only medium that has it, but because it's so heavily interactive, I feel like there are more of those gaps in knowledge.
Yeah, you feel like you're not set up for success.
Right.
There are tutorials. I mean, there can be really detailed tutorials, something that, gamers TM get very upset by because they're like, come on, I know how this is like, I know what this is done. But even if I'm grabbing a controller, like you mentioned, Geoff, with all of these buttons and the tutorial is telling me press X, I'm like, which one is X? And then even if I'm a person who has memory, I can like hold on to this information. But and it changes. Also, the controls are not universal.
No,
so
there's an X button on all of the controllers, and none of them are in the same place.
Not in the same place.
Yeah.
Another example where I think of this and why this continues, and it's not because people are cruel or anything like that. I think of it also in music notation. I've had that debate back in college about playing by ear, written sheet music, everything else. Sheet music is a series of symbols that is just nonsense if you don't know any of it. And if you know some of it, there's still plenty of nonsense. We're not even getting into the Italian part of it. We're just getting into what the symbols are, what they mean, the relations they're in, why they are the way they are. If you're looking at a treble clef versus bass clef, grand staff, why are these spaces there? Why do we do ledger lines instead of just adding more lines, et cetera, et cetera? And part of it comes down to this is currently the best universal way of reading it that, yes, it is not as newbie friendly as, say, looking at a piano roll where you just see the piano and go, oh, that's up, that's down. But that has limitations that learning how to read sheet music is ultimately going to give you those shorthand that you need. But that's something where we're all reading off of the same code, as it were, to play it back. Whereas games, that shorthand develops, but we don't all necessarily have to present the same sheet music. But that idea of you learn those buttons, you learn the left stick is for movement, the right stick is for camera, it becomes shorthand. But we have to remember that people have an in-between phase.
We were told on the last day of PAX by an attendee that I think dropped out of the skies because the gods were like, here's a bone. He said that he just couldn't understand what was going on with the game until he played it, after he watched people playing it, and then he played it. And he said, this game makes me remember what it's like to not know what games are like how to play games.
Yes.
The thing that we were talking about is like in our first game, Embroideryvania, you get like a triple jump to begin with, because why not? And you can stick to everywhere, the ceiling, the walls, whatever.
Because you're a snail.
Because you're a snail. But gamers are like, wait, why do I have 3 jumps? They're just like, they're like upset that they didn't have to like fight to get the jumps or something. I'm like, just have it because it's fun. It's definitely a disconnect.
Looking at it from where I am, it almost feels as though, certainly, gamers, TM, there's that idea of like, I have to win. I have to be good. I have to find the ending. I have to find the objective. And part of that shorthand is also finding what the game is about. Like, is this a move left to right? Is this one where I'm looking for secrets? Is this a combat game? Is this a game where my choices matter? You take in a lot of information quickly, and you have to parse it, and you have to make sense of it. Having that, honed gamer's edge of, well, it's this kind of a game. And I certainly feel that way. I mean, speaking of PAX West, going to different booths and kind of being there as press and going, all right, what is your game? I'm here for 15 minutes. I want to understand best I can. I want to represent it best I can. What are we doing here? That flies in the face of just have fun. Just hit the button, see what happens, which is part of gaming, which is part of fun. I remember playing NES games as a kid where I didn't know jack shit about what I was doing.
Right.
But it's like, this button does this. I figured it out. Are there instruction manuals? Yes. Why do you think I can read? I'm 4.
Yeah.
There's this disconnect when playing games, especially as I feel like an adult. There's this want for challenge, which I think is definitely really important. But I see this pushback when a game is too easy. And there are games I've played that are too easy and I've been frustrated with. But then there are games where, like, my biggest example is I love the Kirby franchise, right? But those games are notoriously considered not challenging until the minute they are, right? Like a lot of early Mario titles also. But to me, it's like, well, that's the fun of it. One of my favorite games on the N64 was Yoshi's Story, a very easy platforming game. It's very hard to lose, very hard to die. And it's one of my favorites where I've seen other people online be like, oh, this game is boring. There's nothing here. Well, right. There's nothing here if you're looking for a challenge. But if you're looking for one of the most gorgeous games on the N64 with the most adorable characters and really cool design, it's what you're looking for that I think shifts. Something about BYONG, as we're going to call it, is that you're introducing people into what you love about games, and they may not or may love it, and they may grow from there in a different way. I credit Geoff with a lot of the great, addictions in my life. Like a lot of the genres or games or franchises that Geoff has introduced me to, I've gone on to become a super fan of. That's so powerful. It's like recommending an album to someone, right? Like one of my favorite things to do as a music nerd is to recommend a band I really love that even though they are very specific to whatever genre they're in, I feel like they transcend it, and I want to give it to this person who I may not even know if they like that genre, but I think they'll like this band.
I don't know if you know this, but I worked in the music industry, so we can have a separate episode about music. The three of us.
Please.
I would love to.
But it's because you had an experience with this album, and you had an experience with this game, and you want to share that experience with someone else.
Yeah.
And they can have their own experience with it.
Yeah.
Or you can share it.
And I think with what No Sequels is kind of pushing forth with the time that I spent with Embroideryvania and some of the other things that you and Fox and Sarah and I were talking about at PAX West, it feels a little more tangible, and I don't want to say repeatable, but the idea of people bring their experience into the art that they see and where they go forth from there. And if somebody played a game that it was one of their earliest game memories and like, this was so punishing and challenging and it was so rewarding to get past it. What game was it? The first Kirby's Dream Land. Okay. Yeah, no, that a little bit of a challenge, I guess. But if it's something of, I explored this space, there was joy, there was whimsy, I got to do this with this person. And I got to watch them have so much fun realizing, oh my God, there's a third jump. I remember during my playthrough discovering I can stick to the ceiling.
Yeah.
And just, I think at some point, I was just like, I'm going to do this as much as I can.
Yeah. We have this 3-minute demo out and we're calling it a 3-minute demo because it takes you 3 minutes to get through it. But we saw in our stats that people are spending an average of 25 minutes in it, which means that some people are spending like an hour in this 3-minute demo. And it is exactly that. We saw it in real time at PAX. People are like, I'm on the ceiling, I'm on the wall, I'm going to go everywhere I can do this. And that's it. Even when I was talking to some people, because a lot of us played with the people visiting the booth, if they didn't have a second person,
Yeah.
we would just talk to them or we would just not say anything and just zone out in this, this like embroidered world.
And I think there is something interesting to, like, when we were talking about it at PAX West, and I don't remember if I said this out loud, but this made me feel like a lot of like art house, art collective, art gallery kind of feelings. And so how
Me
long
too.
does it take to walk through a museum? Well, not very long if you don't care about looking at things, or you just kind of like glance at, if you were treating a 3D first person walk through the Louvre, and all you need to do is like center your camera on each piece of art to get it on the checklist, and doing a speed run of how quickly can you get through the Louvre. Well, it's not going to take very long. But I feel like that's missing the point of going.
Yes. Well, especially, I'm really happy you brought up the Louvre because anyone who walks in there and they're like, oh, here's my map. I need to hit up these things that are super important in this place. It's
Yes.
impossible to do. It's impossible to do in the Louvre.
I had a chance to go back in 2019. This was when they were still doing the 3DS interactive maps. I was there on a family trip, and everyone else was going to the Paris Open, and they love tennis, and I don't care. I'd have fun there, but everyone else had also gone to the Louvre before, so it was like, this is my day.
Yeah.
So I went. I had the headphones. I had that. I had a few things that I wanted to see and needed to see, and other than that, yeah, taking the time to kind of figure out how the interactive map and the exhibits kind of work together, finding little things that popped up, and just letting things guide me. I got so lost on the top floor, which I have dubbed the holy shit floor, because
Yeah.
it is full of religious iconography, and it is all large and beautiful, and there's those like massive oil paintings
They're
that
amazing.
people were like just, sitting in the little stools doing their own sketches of, and just letting the sense of space take you and roll with that is something that cannot be overstated. And you can have those in digital spaces as well. We think of those moments in mainstream games, like the moment of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, when you first come out of the cave onto the cliff and you just take it all in. We have those cinematic moments, but there are sort of intuitive, internal wow moments that are taking in a space, and that doesn't have to be massive cinematic 3D graphics. It is with games, even if you can't be in a space, you can play.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I love about the demo for Embroideryvania, because I played the demo at home and I didn't have a second player to play it with, so I just messed with the first player and moved through. It took me probably longer than it should have to realize that it is a demo, but it's a demo of the mechanics. Mostly you are explaining as you explore and traverse what the game is going to do, right? You have a lot of words and text. And it took me a little longer than I'd like to admit to like actually piece the narrative of that together. But once I did, I got to a certain point and I went, I guess I've figured out what this demo does, quote unquote, but I want to see what else it has to say.
Yeah.
And it's not being read to me, so I have to go find it. Talking about the recommendation thing, what I love about Embroideryvania as a game, as a BYONG, is that to me, the reason I brought up Geoff before and the game recommendations is Geoff and I don't recommend games frivolously. When Geoff and I recommend something, we are taking into careful consideration the person we are talking to, especially if they're a friend whose preferences we know, the things they love, all of that. What new gamer, old gamer, doesn't matter. What I got from the 3-minute demo that I could have easily spent 10 minutes in was that that's what you're doing. You're guiding people through this experience and telling them what they can expect, because you're not quite ready to show it yet, but you want them to know. And if it's someone who's never played a game before, showing them may not be enough because they may not understand what they're even experiencing if they've never played a Metroidvania before.
Well, I will tell you that the people who were not the gamers were the ones who picked it up and ran around like nobody's business. They were
Amazing.
just like, oh, yeah, like I mean, some people have challenges with platforming generally. So,
Right.
okay, we got some real life feedback there about the platforming aspect of it. But the non-gamers were like, oh my God, I'm on the ceiling. And then the gamers were like, why do I have 3 jumps? Oh, I have 3 jumps. Okay. Wait, I can stick on the wall? Oh, okay. So can I go this way? Like they were having a hard time like deconditioning themselves
They
from
were kind of
whatever.
overthinking it.
They really were.
Well, to the music idea, anytime I'm in an escape room or doing like big puzzles or anything else, and there is a music clue, I will always screw it up because I will always overthink it. I bring too much knowledge to it.
Yep.
And that's not like oh, I'm so smart. It's the kind of thing of I know too many terms.
Yeah.
I know too much. And so I'm applying 201, 202 and beyond knowledge to something that was designed to be barely 101. The idea that anybody should be able to solve this and you don't need esoteric knowledge to solve it. And so you put a video game out and people that have nothing but esoteric knowledge about gaming are going to tie themselves in knots. Whereas I play video games now with a lot of children. I have all sorts of nibblings, blood and non in my life. And it's so funny to see which games they take to easily. The child of gamers knows how to use all the buttons. The child of non-gamers is so good at motion control.
Yeah.
What Embroideryvania conveys is an easy enough, okay, you see where you can move, you see what buttons you can push, and it is treated like a toy, not necessarily as a checklist. To the sense of conveyance and teaching, there is also sort of in your mission statement, and even within Embroideryvania, there is greater wisdom and facts and knowledge imparted. There's a lot of botany and plant life that is part of what is shown in Embroideryvania, and I know in some of what y'all have planned.
We can talk about it.
This is fair. This is it's not for me to say like, okay, hit the button. So
yeah, we can talk about it because I think I would like to actually go a little bit into our next project as well. To tie it into what you were just saying. It is currently unannounced, but it's totally fine because we're not that big right now. So it's called Knock, which is Knowledge Keepers, and it's a graffiti art style shoot 'em up where one person navigates and the other person shoots.
Oh, interesting.
And a lot of the art that's brought in there, it is a lot of eclectic stuff. It's got a good street art aesthetic. So it looks very different from Embroideryvania.
Yeah. Well, the thing was that about the gameplay, people know how to pick up, they pick up Embroideryvania and they're having that level of maybe confusion where the non-gamers are fine with it and the gamers are like breaking their brains and they're like, why are there 3 jumps? But then you see Knock, which is like this. You just pick it up. You're like, yeah, player 1 flight, player 2 fight.
Yeah.
Easy. Everybody knows what to do. And it's one button. That's it. And then you're in the game. So then the experience level is also still very low, but you can very quickly understand what's happening and what is expected of you and what the objective is. And then you just need to survive.
That's a life lesson. Find out what you need to do, survive.
Yeah. Words to live by. I think what's interesting about this and this idea, your studio is directly combating a thing that I've hated since I started liking video games, reporting on games, doing a podcast about games, which is this assumption, the noob culture. Like, it's fun to joke with your friends, call them a noob as they're bad at a game, you're learning together. When it's lighthearted, it's fine. But a real problem that a lot of online games have, especially in co-op competitive spaces, is this idea that if you're bad, you need to be yelled at, you're dragging down the team, you suck, like you should be demoralized. And I hate that. One of the worst experiences I had in a cooperative online shooter, I won't name names because I don't think it's necessary here. I got into like the test for it. This is all new players. Everyone's playing this game for the first time. And I got into a match and I was terrible and I got insulted constantly. And it's like, all right, Overwatch, been around a while, get on, you make fun of me, whatever. You've got an established meta, I guess, fine. But in a brand new game that's just like stress testing, that's ridiculous, right? Like, you don't know any better than anybody else. The game has barely been out. And so what I feel like your studio is combating against is very much like, bring the people who don't know how to play. Those are the ones we want. We want to bring people into this space and keep it open. I mean, one of the reasons we created Side Quests, which is our sub-series where different hosts talks about a game they love and why they love it, is to combat that, right? The judgment, the ire of any game, right? One of our earliest episodes was on Fortnite, which I unfairly didn't like at the time. And now I love Fortnite as much as any others. It's as much an excuse to hang out as it is an actual shooting game. But you wouldn't know that if you just judged it based on the memification and what's popular online. And I love the idea of a studio that's just going, forget pretense. We've made this game, it's this genre, but even still, forget the pretense of that genre. We want you to come in fresh and learn this game together, learn and teach others to enjoy these games together. And I think that's a really admirable thing to do.
Thank you. Yeah, you're actually bringing up a couple of points because people ask us, are you going to do remote co-op? For the time being and for the foreseeable future, the answer is no. We want it to be local, not only so you can introduce more people in your life to the thing that you love, because gamers love their games. And it doesn't have to be, a 40-hour situation. It can just be the equivalent of a movie night. Hey, do you want to do this thing for an hour? Great, done. But we also think that, especially since the pandemic, but even before, what you're describing, Matt, is a really big, real thing. And you can't have that behavior when you're on the couch with someone.
Yes, correct.
And
Yeah.
especially during the pandemic, we all became very isolated. Like life became chronically online for various reasons. And this is one of the ways where we are saying, okay, you don't have to go outside necessarily, but bring people to the couch. You can't hate someone who's sitting right next to you, no matter what the situation is. And that also ties into the educational element for Embroideryvania that you were mentioning, Geoff, it is about plant identification and like learning how to see the world around you. And this is not a learn about this thing. It's more, oh, hey, here's this cool thing. And if you want to engage with it and you get the collectibles, you can learn about plant families. So then when you go touch grass, inevitably, hopefully, you can apply that. There's no map. It encourages you to take notes and be like, okay, wait, we went to that place. What's happening now? Where are we now? Oh, okay. I kind of figured it out. That's the experience that we want people to have.
Yeah. The amount of long and interesting words that I have learned and added to my vocabulary over the years because I saw them in an RPG and because people needed to find a specific term for something that sounded unique and interesting. Like, they weren't trying to be like, and now it's time to learn the terms. No, they were just, here's a game. You take in what you take in, you hold on to what you can. And especially since games are a repeatable experience, you will be rereading those words. You'll be re-seeing those pictures. Games, as puzzles, as anything, is pattern recognition. And so even if you just see the thing and you aren't actively going, okay, what's the scientific name for this? Okay. You are still taking it in and you will recognize it. And that elicits a sense of wonder and joy.
Exactly.
And it's funny thinking on the local versus remote. One, I can imagine remote co-op is also a much harder thing infrastructure-wise than actually doing it, which is also the thing of why aren't you doing remote co-op? Do you want to program it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're all self-taught here in the studio. So,
which cool.
Yeah, it's great. And which is why we love, the kind of tools that we have right now, like Godot. But, some things are just an internal capability issue. So we are going to work towards that for sure. But even so, yes, when we get to that point, I'm going to be like, who can program remote? Because we can't do it.
But I also think of how there are games that have the remote co-op only idea. And the one in particular I think of is Journey, which is, again, one of those games that it's not a co-op game, but it is a sort of online game because you are walking through this vast expanse. You are going to a destination and you will see others along the way. And those are actual people that are also playing. It doesn't have necessarily here's how you do a team move and here's how you do these things. You just experience it together. And so there is a space and a place for that same kind of bring your own non-gamer idea. But I think keeping it local for the projects that you're currently working on, and certainly for the foreseeable future, allows for that education. My oldest nephew likes to play a lot of games and doesn't get a chance to play a ton of them at home. Most of what he plays are when he visits us. And so there's a lot of he figures some things out, but there's a bit of he doesn't want to be told what to do, but he does have a lot of times of what do I do next? Only help when he asks for help. But I'm there on the couch with him and I'm not telling him what to do every single time. So he feels okay asking me, what do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
In the same way of you can't fully hate the person sitting next to you on the couch while you're playing. You can't get that same trust without the person next to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it too.
Yeah. I mean, and I love that idea too. I mean, that's, I think, the thing. There are a lot of things to hate about the internet, but one of the things I hate the most is that sense of community is corrupted in the sense that fandoms used to just be a community of people who loved this thing and we loved it together. But the Star Wars fandom, which I'll call out because I don't think Lucas is listening, is like, it used to be fun to be a Star Wars fan, and it's not anymore because there's
it's
so much
not.
dissent. Like, I am a hopeless Star Wars fan in the sense that I love everything. Good, bad, quality, doesn't matter. I love all of it. I love that world. I love the games. I love the shows, all of it. But if I try to talk about why I love it on, say, Twitter, I will never call it X, and I share, oh, I loved this thing, the first comment will inevitably be, oh, that sucked. Okay, why? You're not helping me. If I said that to you at a party to your face, you wouldn't go, that sucked. You might give some constructive criticism, like, well, I didn't like it because of this. But like, the internet frees people up to just be at their worst. And there's plenty of good out there too. But like, what I love about games and what I love about sharing games and a lot of the communities Geoff and I have the benefit of being in, both on Discord and other places, is that people just genuinely want to celebrate that stuff. If you don't like something, want to know why you don't like it. Well, maybe I can talk to you about why I like it. Maybe we can find some common ground, right? Anything like that. And I think in that same idea, playing a game on the couch with someone next to you, you can have a better conversation about what it is to play a game, what's fun about a game, what you like about a game, right?
And you also get those moments of, why are you doing the jump over and over again? If you don't know the person and you don't have voice chat or anything else, you're like, is this lagging? Do they suck? Do they whatever else? And if you're sitting next to the person and you're just like, they're giggling because this is the most whatever, you're like, I understand now. You need that feedback.
Yeah.
There have always been toxic elements of fandom. The internet just makes it easier.
Right.
But being in person allows a certain curation and a certain sense of feedback and consequence as well. It's nice to be able to find that online, but it's
not the same. And definitely, like, to your point, the thing especially about Embroideryvania, I sent the demo to some people and they were like, oh, I can't play it because I don't have a second player. And I was like, you can just be the player one. Like, it'll be split screen, but just be the one player. And it's because people are used to also couch co-op games being like, you can't get through it unless you have the second person.
Yes.
Right. Like Split Fiction, like
No Way Out.
Yeah, The Way Out, like Unravel, all of these games where it's like, okay, you have to solve the puzzles to get over the obstacles to do the thing. And I'm like, that's great. I do also very much enjoy these where you can be with your person and be like, come on, go a little to the left, do the thing, to solve the puzzle. But also, like, what about just like bopping around as a snail that turns into a kite maybe later, like in an environment,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I'm reminded of early gaming experience for me. One of the games we had for the NES was Gyromite, which was one of the 2 games that Nintendo made to be played with the Rob robot accessory as your second player. Just the little thing that would like turn and pick up the gyroscope to push on the big buttons that were just put the NES controller under the thing. So you move around as first player as the little scientist guy trying to get all of the things that you need to get. Doesn't matter what. And avoid enemies and all of this. And there are pistons that if you press the A button, all the blue ones move, either up to down or down to up. And if you press B, all the red ones do. Maybe I mixed up the colors. I don't know. If you're so mad about that and you're listening, come at me. Please let me know. Tell me how wrong I am. The thing is, all of those happen on the second controller. A and B is jumping and doing other things first player, very platforming style. You need the second player to open and close and move those pistons. So that's why you have Rob to do that. Or in the case of my older brother playing, they had a younger sibling to hold the controller and do it. And there's a lot of games that have that kind of like younger sibling mode. This one had consequence. And I also bring this up in terms of like, oh, I can't get through it without a second player. You know what my brother and I learned to do if we wanted to play Gyromite by ourselves? Play with our feet. Because you're not pushing the button like in rhythm or anything. You just hold it down.
Yeah.
So in point of fact, if I'm moving around with my hands, I just need to like, oh, that was the wrong one. Let me move a little to the left on that or a little to the right. There is a mode B of this that is the guy is just kind of sleepwalking, your little character, and you need to open and close those pistons in order to get him to where he's going. It is such simplistic gameplay that there is a speed run online from the Games Done Quick charity event where a dog plays it.
Oh, right.
That's
remember
really
this.
funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they
great.
have 2 big buttons so that it can be set up and one in the middle so you can push both at the same time. And the dog's owner, Peanut Butters, is the name of the dog. And I know this because throughout the whole thing I hear, Peanut Butter, button. And like the dog pushes down on it. And it's that same kind of thing of, I mean, yes, it's lovely novelty and whatever else, but all of this just speaks to we have a lot of hangups about doing things correctly, whether that is because of online panopticon, whether that is because of expectation of gaming, whether that is, I have a lot of games to play and I can't be wasting time on this and I need to figure out what I'm doing. But it's nice to have, no, don't worry about that. You're a snail.
Be a snail.
Be the snail.
People were like, can you zoom out? I was like, nope, you're a
Nope.
snail. The world is this big.
Where are my objectives? Be a snail.
Yes.
You're
Be a
doing
snail.
amazing.
Collect shell packs. Ooh, okay, I can do that.
Yeah. Now, was collecting the shell packs, was that a thing that you wanted like towards the beginning, or did that just kind of become the gamers need something?
No, we did want that in the beginning. Well, when we first were trying to decide what the protagonist is going to be, we were thinking, we want a unusual creature, maybe not a traditionally cute creature, something, to figure out what the world is going to look like. We were like, we were throwing ideas around and we were like, snail. Yes, because they can collect shell packs like another crab's treasure, but not like that. So they're mostly, they're just cosmetic. And they do have references. One of them, for example, is a spray can, because that's like our next game that's the art style. Or we have some Easter eggs in there. Like we have some inner jokes or like some homage to things that we care about or that we like.
And speaking to that, also, the thing I like about Embroideryvania is, like you say in the description, there's no combat, no dangers. Like, it's just exploration, which is someone who's played a lot of Metroidvania games. Usually, even if there's no combat, like, say, in Animal Well, there is still a lot of death and danger. And so, like, to say up front that this is meant to be just a sense of discovery and adventure is huge. I have several friends who often post about nonviolent games, and it's not games without conflict. They're just games without violence or combat or danger. We've done a whole episode on those kinds of games because I think they are less common. There are more of them now, especially as the indie scene continues to grow, but that was the easiest mechanic, right? What do I do in this game? I shoot, right? Or I eat this thing, or I kill this thing, right? It was an easy verb in early games, and now I find that I am even more interested in a game when it tells me that there isn't those things, because then I go, oh, I wonder how it's going to be interesting. I wonder how I'll engage with it. I do love that with Embroideryvania, that's like on the tin, right? That's on the box. There's no combat, there's no danger, there's other things to find and do, but it's not those usual verbs. I have found with my partner who loves games, in her earliest days before taking on games with combat, the immediate struggle in a game like Control for her was, how do I aim and kill the thing, right?
Yeah.
I went through that.
Whereas like playing a walking sim, which were a lot of her early modern gaming experiences, you just had to walk. There was no combat. There was no violence. There was no verb like that. She could just explore the space and engage and interact with things without that pressure, because combat and danger automatically adds pressure, right?
So much pressure.
Otherwise it's not effective, right? That's the whole point of it.
Which is why I cried, because I got stuck somewhere and I couldn't kill things.
It's failure state.
Yeah. And in the full build of the game, you are really going through the different environments, and based on the music, because the music is originally scored for this game, like for each world, each biome being incredibly different from each other and having different gravities and maybe different traversal mechanics that you unlock along the way, it gives you this like sense of discovery and wonder. But yeah, that's really the objective, guys. Like, chill.
Yeah.
Maybe read what it says in the back. Listen, gamers should read instructions sometimes. You might learn something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I miss the instruction manuals of old. Look, those car rides home were so informative. You read the booklet, so when you got home, you could play the game.
that's one of the things that we are doing as part of our Kickstarter tiers for like our future games, etc. As
Mhm.
well, to have like an instruction manual, because Fox
Sure.
also like really, really loves those. And he's like, we need to have that. I think it's going to be great. I was like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm down.
Yeah. You can go just a little bit. You can evoke the old, like, staple down the spine kind of thing, or you
Yeah.
can have something that is a little more substantial. Like, I've definitely got instruction manuals that they were
Yeah.
like, I need to read all of the lore about Azeroth.
Yeah.
Like, I've read more about Warcraft than I have ever played Warcraft.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and this is the thing, like, it's really interesting, the reading part with gamers, and this is another reason why we didn't wanna put, like, big walls of text for anything, but I'm the person who, like, reads everything, like, even when I'm driving or when I'm playing a game, and Fox is the person who doesn't read anything. So, when we have played some games together that are not co-op, but, like, for example, Control,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was like every time we picked up something, I was like, "Wait, I wanna read it."
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "You have to read it." And he's like, "I read them at the end. I just collect all of them, and then at the end, I just go through." And I was like, "This is such not the way to play games."
Well, and there again, this kind of comes back to the art gallery analogy, to a
Yes.
museum. You can just look at what's there, or you can stop and read every single placard. And there's
Same.
not necessarily a right or wrong way to do those, but everybody also has a certain point where, certainly for me, every time I go to, the Museum of Natural History or to the cloisters or
Yeah.
anywhere else, it's like, this time I'm going to read all of them. Whatever amount of time, it doesn't matter. There comes a point, maybe the second placard, maybe the 50th, but I'm like, cool.
You're like, "I'm
Looks
done." You're like, "I'm done.
done.
I can't read anymore." Yeah.
Those are some cool bones. Look at that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have bones like that. That's crazy. What's the next thing?
Yeah.
And so I do appreciate that in kind of accommodating for both the non-gamer and the seasoned gamer, that the way that you have text, it's just something you find and it's there. It's not a wall of text where you have to just stop, and it's not a pop-up. I think pop-ups and those ones where you have to like then click through the tutorial, it
There's
doesn't
no
matter
pop-up.
doesn't matter who you are, how much gaming you do. I think technology at this point where it's just like, hey, you want to play this game? Can't do it till you press A through these 3 blocks of text. It's really important. We hope you read it. You already hate them.
Yeah, that's another thing about the game as well, and as you may have seen, because we realize that we send the press kit to people and they don't understand that they're looking at screenshots, even though they're called screenshots, because there
Yeah.
isn't any UI.
Right.
So people are like, "Oh, is this? I guess this is just." Like, I'm like, "No, it's a screenshot. I'm telling you, there is no UI," and people get super confused by that. But that's another reason why, because we're like, especially if there's a non-gamer in the room
Mhm.
who's who is not used to it, like the UI can be really overwhelming because
Yeah.
they're like, "Why is this in my field of vision?" Whereas gamers are like, "Whatever, I'm not looking at this if I don't need to," or
Right.
I'm used to be able to changing it or whatever. Again, to the like no pop-ups and no walls of text. That's limited, minimal UI. And as you saw on the knock proof of concept, player 1 fight, player 2 fight, lettering can't hurt you.
That is all you need to know.
It's like that's the
Yeah.
game.
I don't remember if we talked about this at PAX West. It definitely wasn't in the interview, but the idea of being able to convey objective and the key pieces of information is such an art. Whenever I have a board game night at my apartment, I actually feel pretty confident in my ability to explain how a game is played.
Mhm.
I let one of my friends who is a teacher do it. She also is very much a like, what am I trying to do? Am I trying to get points? Am I
Right.
trying to get to the end? What is like, give me the objective first. Then how do we get there? And what are the obstacles and the operations? And so like fight, flight, lettering doesn't hurt you. Yeah, you're going to fly, you're going to shoot, and you're going to be fine. That gets it.
Other things will hurt you, but you can tell immediately, right? Yeah.
But that also
So,
tells you lettering can't hurt you.
Yeah.
What can?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also because Nock does have a little bit of, because it has that street art aesthetic, it is a little bit chaotic.
It's very chaotic.
Very chaotic. So having a little bit of guidance is great. And I mean, most shoot 'em ups are chaotic. So I think you're doing a nice ease into that genre. Well, and speaking of genre, do y'all kind of go at it of like, what is the non-gamer version of a shoot 'em up? What is the non-gamer version of a Metroidvania? Or do you
No.
start with an art aesthetic? Do you start with, where does this begin?
It actually, because, innovation is a really big just value of ours. And I think kind of the way we just are, like everyone who works at No Sequels is like, how can we make it weirder or how can we make it even more unusual? Not always to our benefit, but that's
Then you pull it back a little, but you
yeah,
gotta reach for it first.
yeah. So the way it goes, and we do have a bit of a teaser about all the projects that we are working on our website, where we kind of say like the art style and the genres. We think of it, well, sometimes it's the concept itself first. For example, our next title is a like cooking and racing game together, like the one
Mhm.
after Knock. And it's like resource management and stuff like that. And that happened because it relates to like a food truck comic strip that I liked. And then I showed it to, like, it's just not, it just started from there. And I was like, well, what if this was a game? And what
Mhm.
if you had to like race and cook? Like that's what happened there. But we were saying, from Embroideryvania, there's never been a couch co-op Metroidvania.
Right.
Mhm.
So that we were like, oh, yeah. So that alone, like split screen, and even figuring out how to make the snails be very far away from each other. That was a big part in development, to be like, okay, will you be able to find each other? Will you be anywhere in the map? How far can you go from each other? And then we were like, you know what? They should just stay in per world, because if one of you moves, then both of you teleport. But while you're in the world, you can be like, where are you? I don't know. Come help me. Like that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
And you don't need an overhead map. You can see like, okay, vaguely where you are, and I can
Yeah.
kind of go.
You're like, have I been there? Have I not? Like, I got to go back. Yeah, that's the idea. Because the environments are also not that big. I mean, I guess they are for snails, but really, like for human scale, they're not that big. For Knock, Fox has been really into street art forever, and Athens is a very urban, gritty place that has a lot of street art. So we were like, okay, that can be like the Greek tie-in, and then we were like, what kind of graffiti game like hasn't existed before? Oh, a shoot 'em up would be really cool. Like that's kind of how we go about it. Or like, we have a later title that's going to be a stained glass beat 'em up. Like, what would be an amazing beat 'em up? Stained glass. Those shatter sound effects are gonna
The shatter puns are already just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, protect and destroy something beautiful.
yeah, exactly.
The possibilities are already there. And they also, yet again, I think, to the same way that games and game genres lead to preconceived notions from people who play games,
Mhm.
all of the different media or pieces of art or styles of art that are conveyed in these also elicit preconceived notions from people, which can help hinder or be utilized in the design. Like, yeah, stained glass, what do you do with that? Shatter it.
Beat it up.
Beat
And
it
people
up.
are like, oh, like it's just not. And that's the thing, like seeing people's reactions when we showed them the little bit of Knock that we had was just like, whoa, because they immediately get it. Like Embroideryvania, we discovered just requires some assuring in to the concept. Whereas Knock, people immediately got it, and they were also like, the immediate the visceral response was, this is so cool. I
Yeah.
haven't seen this before. Whereas with
Yeah.
Embroideryvania, they're like, I've never seen this before, and I'm not really sure what's going on. Like with Knock, it's like way clearer and direct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think as No Sequels kind of puts more out there and your mission becomes a little more known for people. I was going to say clearer, but that's not it, but like more known for folk. I think there are other creators out there and other studios that are also pushing this kind of idea, each in their own way. As these ideas become more known, you can have one where it's sort of I've never seen anything like this before, because there is that notion of, we're going to get it and I'm going to be able to convey it to somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the most popular games over the last few years are not games that were following an existing tradition. You think of some of the most popular indies like Hades and Balatro. I am struggling to say it correctly, but I've been corrected and I will commit the actual title to memory. But right, those things that like didn't exist before. Or even thinking about, I mentioned Clair Obscur earlier, a French turn-based RPG. Hasn't existed before. Now it does, right?
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
thinking of outside the box is not just to get a game out there, but it's also because people want these things, but they don't know it until someone actually goes and makes it.
That's art.
That's art, yeah. And the fact that you guys are so transparent on your website about the stuff that you want to make, even without titles, without screenshots yet, but just saying, these are the things we're interested in. Get me excited. Like going to that page and seeing the cooking racing game, my brain just goes, oh my God, what's that going to be? What will that be like? I think it's a great way to get people behind you of like, well, this is a cool thing. I mean, for me, to kickstart a game, I just need to think it's cool and have a cool concept. Even if the finished product doesn't always jive with me, I'm
Yeah.
proud to get something like that off the ground because, all right, it wasn't for me. Clearly, it was for a bajillion other people who wanted that thing and they backed it. I think what you guys are doing at No Sequels is really admirable. I'm excited by it because, again, it's just when I read the concept and the pitch, I was like, I can't think of anyone else doing this. And that's how we get some of the best art, by thinking outside the box and going, okay, this thing that I've never seen, well, what if I made it? Because I like this thing and want to see it. And so I really love the ideas. I love where you guys are headed, and I'm excited to see what you guys continue to make.
Thank you. We're very excited about that as well.
I do have to ask, the first kind of coming back to gaming, the games that you played elicited a lot of frustration. What were the games that made you like remember that this is fine, this is great?
So we started with, I have a list somewhere, but we started with Rayman Legends. That was really fun, like
good one.
platform. And I'm apparently naturally really good at platforming. It's something that, yeah, I've noticed other people who were not playing games that are really struggling with the generally like platformers. And I was like, oh, I'm actually really, really good at that. And also rhythm games. And they're like these rhythm levels in Rayman that I would just get in the level and be like, oh, I know, and just get all the way through it at once. And people were like, I don't know how you're doing. Like, you don't play games, but somehow this you can do.
Oh, this, yeah.
I played Gree, but there were some parts of I was like, okay, I kind of get it, but like, where are we going with this? And then there were some combat things that I was like, I don't know, I can't get through this. And I'm not the person. I've tried Souls-like games, for example. I'm not the person to like go there and farm and kill and go back and do the thing and feel so good that I overcame it. Like, nah, take that away from me. The game that I cried about was Saints Row the Third. I enjoy that game. You know, I'm playing that game, but it was just more like the skill level. So then we were like, let's pull
overwhelming.
it back. Like, let's bring it back in. And we were playing a lot of Broforce.
Oh,
right.
amazing.
A lot of Broforce.
Hell yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's like great. You're just shooting. You're like different characters. You don't even know who you are. There's just like chaos, things getting blown up. The hilarious American propaganda is just like, I don't know. It's pretty fun. And you can play it. It's co-op.
Right.
So.
And it's funny to see in all of these games where it's like, oh yeah, old Broforce and Saints Row, well, there's a lot of running and shooting, a lot of this and that. But certain things are anchors and held onto, and other things can just be like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, you can't care about every little thing in the full game experience. It doesn't become a good gaming experience that way.
Yeah.
And so it's funny to like look within genre and see that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, Joanna, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. Before we wrap up, I'd love for you to tell folks where they can find No Sequels, the best way to support the studio, the kinds of things they can look out for, and the places they can follow you on the internet.
So anywhere on the internet, we are either No Sequels or No Sequels Co-op. The website is no-sequels.com or nosequelscoop.com. You can find us there. If you Google Embroideryvania, nothing else will come up because there is no other thing named like that.
Take that, SEO.
Take that, SEO. And we also have a Discord that's free to join. And we also have a Patreon that we are just getting started with for a lot of behind the scenes content and, you know, one-on-one talks with us.
Amazing. Well, everyone, we will include the website and other things in the show notes. Again, Joanna, thank you for joining us. This was a wonderful conversation. And we will have to have you back to talk about music,
Absolutely.
maybe rhythm
Yes.
games. And as projects come out, we would love to help spread the word because I really do dig what you guys are doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And at this point, we put it to you, listener. Do you remember the games that made you love gaming? Do you remember the frustrations that you had on your way there? Did someone or some game help you find your way? Have you done that for anyone else? Are you interested in games involving tattoo culture, Edwardian Victorian punk, or microscopic photography, because then you should definitely be following No Sequels, because I am just reading those off of the website right now. These are exciting things, okay? I like being excited about games, and I hope you are too. And if you are, and if you have any answers for anything I just asked, you know what to do. Let us know. Get in touch with us. There's so many great ways to reach out. We are Fun and Games Pod on all social media that we are currently active upon, which as of this episode is Blue Sky, Instagram, and Tumblr. We are funandgamespod@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought of this episode, what you thought of previous episodes, what you'd like us to talk about, and who you'd like us to talk with on future episodes. Show us those co-op experiences. Show us your favorite co-op games. Do you have a working ROB for the NES? I had one when I was a kid, and I do not remember it ever working. Who cares? If you've got one, I want to see it. Show us your non-gamer. Who are you teaching? Who are you showing? Who are you bringing in? What sort of experiences are happening? We absolutely want to know. You can also visit certainpov.com and find not only other fantastic Certain POV podcasts, but also a permanent invite link to our Discord server, where you can also share your favorite non-gamer, your favorite co-op games, and where a lot of these topics continue and where a lot of our episode topics begin. If you like what Matt and I do, and you want to support us and have the means to, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/funandgamespod. There is a free tier, so you can still get access to the RSS feed and vote on what consoles we will do our retrospectives on next there. But we do appreciate any and all that have chosen to support us financially. We really appreciate it, and we'd like to shout out those on the high scoreboard. Today, the high scoreboard is Alex Lavelle, Case Aiken, Daniel Nyden, Alejandro Alves, Chris Copleen, Curly Bright, Film It Yourself, Patrick Edwards, Robert Prine, and Sean Bowen. Thank you so much for your support. Please enter your initials. I don't know where the letters are. You have to find them, okay? They're going to be readable. It's going to be fun. And there's no failure state. There is no timer counting down. There is no one in line behind you for the arcade machine. Just have fun.
Also, if you don't have the means financially to support us, a great free way to support us, besides joining at the free tier, is rating and reviewing us on your podcast platform of choice, whether it is Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, basically any platform that allows you to put a rating or a review. If you could fill one out, it really helps us grow the audience, combat the algorithm, and help folks find this show and join in the conversation about things like this. That is one of the best ways that you can support us. Go to any platform you are currently listening to this on, or others if you're feeling industrious, and give us a rating or a review.
Whether you are here because you're a fan of No Sequels, formerly or now currently, whether you are trying to find more games with a triple jump that you didn't realize that was there, or if this is your first episode of Fun and Games, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. We couldn't do this without you. This is a conversation. Thank you for being a part of it. I'm Geoff Moonen.
And I am Matt A.K. Stormageddon.
And happy gaming.
Do you find yourself playing older games and wishing that there were new discussions about those games? Enter Tales from the Backlog. Hi, I'm Dave Jackson, and on each episode, I'm joined by a guest to break down those games that may be stuck in your ever-expanding backlog. Each episode looks at one game in depth, focusing on mechanics, story, music, and other aspects with no spoilers until a clearly marked spoiler wall in the middle. If you've played the game, go ahead and climb that spoiler wall and enjoy in-depth story discussions, and if not, jump out when we warn you and maybe go play that game for yourself. We have over 100 episodes in the feed, everything from Disco Elysium to Tunic to discussion episodes about how to get into horror games, and if games actually need to be fun, or if they have more to offer. I guarantee that there's something in there for everybody. Once again, that's Tales from the Backlog, available wherever your podcasts are found.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.